Alright, so if I sound a little bit different or off in this video, it's because of two things. One, this is completely unscripted, and sure, my reviews are also unscripted, but there is a semblance of order there and like an outline of things that I want to talk about that, and I'm going into this just based off of a whim. And two, I am physically exhausted from a 7-ish hour drive that I took today. So keep both of those things in mind going into this. I often like to peruse Letterboxd and other sites about films and look at upcoming projects from some of my favorite people in the film industry. And it just so happens that one of my favorite film people or in the industry that has a lot of projects coming up is my love of my life. Yes, I'm bold enough to say it, Timothée Chalamet. And the thing is, I was looking around this morning and I don't know what prompted me to do so. What was it? I don't even know. I can't even remember. But I did. And I stumbled across the Wonka page on Letterboxd, and I like to look at the cast, and I saw, Keegan-Michael Key is in that. I feel like he's the perfect person for the Wonka film, especially because he was in a Christmas movie, I think, Jingle Jangle, I think that's the one it was called. It was on Netflix. It was a musical. He was really great in that, and that kind of seems like it would give off similar vibes to Wonka. And Olivia Colman's in it, and she is amazing. I can't imagine who or what she will be, you know what I mean? But I then moved my way on to the crew, because I think that the crew is just as important as the cast. And this is where things get a little bit wonky. So the first thing that you look at when you look at a crew is the director. And the Wonka film is being directed by Paul King, who has done the Paddington films. Now you look at that alone and you're like, okay, Colin, what's so weird about that? Nothing. That's a completely normal choice, and it is actually pretty a positive indicator of where the film would be going, because the Paddington films are just so upbeat and wholesome, and I think a Wonka film like that would be pretty awesome too. Very majestic, a little bit of magic in there, super, super cool. But then you look at the next name right next to Paul King, and you see that there are 5 writers on this film. Having multiple writers on a film is nothing to be scoffed at. It's a very, very common thing. Sometimes the director has a very, very common co-creator, collaborator that they often work with on all of their films. So there's like 2 writers. Sometimes there is another one that specializes in the topic at hand. Totally understandable. But Paul King is not one of the writers on the film. And B, 5 writers is nuts. 5 writers is nuts. When you have 2 or 3 people put together, you can generally come to a unanimous decision and meld your voices into one thing. That being said, with 5 writers, I can't imagine that that's not just a giant melting pot of conflicting personalities and ideas that just can't end very well. But now you may be saying, Colin, okay, calm down, relax, breathe for a second. I will. Okay, continue. You might be saying, hey, these people, have they worked together in the past? Maybe they have a lot of things in common. Maybe there's a reason why these 5 names were brought together. You would be the most incorrect that anyone's ever been in anything ever. So let's go over the writers and the projects that these writers have done, shall we? Number 1 name, Jeff Nathanson. Probably one of the more prominent writers on this staff. Prominent films that he's done. Catch Me If You Can. You know what? Catch Me If You Can, a pretty solid movie. Not bad. Spielberg, classic, yada yada. The Lion King 2019. Red flag. Red flag. But you know what? Let's keep on going. Everybody's allowed to have a miss in their catalog, right? The Terminal. You know what? The Terminal is fine. It's okay. You know, whatever. Like, I mean, it's not one of Spielberg's best, but it's not one of his worst anymore. It used to be his worst back before he started making horrible films. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Whoa, wait, what? No. Oh, okay. You know, that was a previously inspired Spielberg product. Pirates of the Caribbean 4 or 5, Dead Man Tell No Tales. I don't know which one it is, but it's the 2017 one. That's really bad. Okay, Rush Hour 2, Rush Hour 3, and Speed 2 and Tower Heist. And then that wraps up his filmography. So if we're going to be honest, all over the place. The only common thread is Spielberg and 2 Rush Hour films. But you know what? One writer that has a very, very interesting, complex history doesn't make a bad staff. So let's move on to the next one. Simon Farnaby. Paddington 2. And a comedy for Netflix called Mindhorn. And that's it. And you know what? That also makes sense. Paddington 2, the director is the director of Paddington 2. Perhaps he brought him over. He liked the way he wrote. Cool, makes sense. Simon Farnaby. And to be fair, Paddington 2, a pretty solid film. So cool. Next up, Simon Rich. Now, Simon Rich is a really interesting character here because he has done one film, which is An American Pickle, which I did not think was good, but there were some people who liked it, and that's fine. The reason why Simon Rich is interesting, though, is because, to me, he's best known for Man Seeking Woman, the TV show, which is an absurdist comedy starring Jay Baruchel and Eric Andre, which is really good, but also maybe like the opposite thing of Paddington 2, completely absurdist, completely insane, completely surreal. And then, so we're now 3 different people on 3 completely different parts or spaces on the spectrum, right? We now move on to number 4, Stephen Levinson. This one's wild. Stephen Levinson has done two films, Tick, Tick, Boom and Dear Evan Hansen. Tick, Tick, Boom is a really great film. Dear Evan Hansen is one of the worst films of last year. A contradiction in those two, but also musical theater. I guess maybe, there's going to be some music in Wonka, but then once again, how are we going to translate that to these other 3 writers in the writer's room? Because this isn't like lyricist. It's not saying, oh, he wrote the music. No, this is a writer. So we're confused. We are befuddled. Our jaws are agape. We then move on to the next one. Simon Stevenson, who has done 2 films also. The first one being both from last year. The first one being the Electrical Life of Louis Wayne, which I hear is pretty solid, all that jazz. And Luca, an animated Pixar film about fish boys. How do any of these 5 people correlate? How do you put together this writing staff and say, you know what, come up with a unified vision that makes it seem like it's been written by one person and it's not completely all over the place? You don't. How do you do that? Like, again, with 2 or 3 people, I get it. Compromises can be made. 5 people in a writer's room trying to rewrite or write a prequel to one of the most classic films of all time. How do you do that? I simply don't know. Here is where it gets weirder, though. And I really have never heard of this before. I'm going to be honest with you. 2 cinematographers. 2 of them. Now, that's weird enough, but then let's alone, maybe they're a duo, they've worked together. Nope. From what I've looked at, never worked together. The first one is Seamus McGarvey. And Seamus McGarvey has a wild catalog also, with films such as the original Avengers, Nocturnal Animals, and we need to talk about Kevin, and Anna Karenina, which is one of my favorite shot films of all time, but also The Greatest Showman and 50 Shades of Grey and Life and Charlotte's Web and the Pan movie. So again, another contradiction within a person, not the two. But then, let's go over to the other one. And then we look at the other one, and I hope I am pronouncing this correctly. The other cinematographer is Jung Jong-hun. And he has done like a bunch of Park Chan-wook films, which is really, really, like, that looks up. Old Boy, The Handmaiden, and Thirst, and Stoker, all really great films from Park Chan-wook. He even did Last Night in Soho, which I really, really enjoyed the cinematography from that, even though a lot of people didn't. And then you look, and he's also done It, and Zombieland 2, and Uncharted. 3 films that I remember specifically not liking their cinematography. So think about it. Oh, okay, let's imagine, how are you going to combine the styles, cinematography-wise, of The Avengers and The Handmaiden? Or The Avengers and Last Night in Soho? How are you going to do that? How's that going to work? And how is that going to work in a Wonka film, a film about Willy Wonka? Yeah, sure, Willy Wonka, especially in the newest version, but always has been a little bit crazy, has been a little bit out there. But The Avengers? It? Where are we going with this? I'm just really perplexed at where this film is going. And to be honest with you, I don't have much else to say about this. It's something that just blows my mind a little bit, and it was one of those things where I need to get this out into the world so someone else would know about it other than me. And this is where I come to do things like that, this YouTube channel. That's really about it. Tell me what you think about all of these choices for the crew in the comments. Leave a like on the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and also, tell me what I should talk about next. No, thank you for watching. Thank you for the recent support on every single video. It means so much to me. I really, really appreciate it, and you guys are awesome, genuinely. That is a genuine thing. Even the people in the Ralph video who are giving me a little bit of flack, I really appreciate constructive criticism, and I really appreciate differing opinions. So I think it's been awesome hearing all of that. Wonka is weird. I don't know what to say. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you in the next one. Goodbye.